During the past 3 months, the Colonial Tramcar has come from being simply a partly renovated tramcar shell to the luxurious mobile restaurant its designers have intended her to be. Although she's now back in the Preston Tramway workshops for some modifications, she has already undergone practical road trials, which have helped the designers recognise and overcome minor problems before the doors are finally thrown open to the public. At the time of our last report, the tramway's tradesmen had fitted a new frame to the open section of the cabin. Since that time, the outer walls have been added to enclose the entire cabin section. The exterior wall trimming and partitioning have now been put into place, allowing the electricians access to lay the extensive cabling that will power the mood lighting in the dining areas, the air conditioning, and the kitchen appliances in the galley. The external appearance of the first tramcar has been one of the most important considerations of the Colonial Tramcar Company. To ensure the company achieves its aim of maximising the tram's tourist potential, many colour schemes were considered at the design stage. Eventually, burgundy and gold won out as being both eye-catching and prestigious. Applying the gold leaf is an exacting and demanding task, requiring the patience and skill of a professional signwriter. One mistake here, and the whole job must be stripped back and started all over again. Once painted, the tram begins to take shape, and everyone who's worked on the project can see that the end of the job is not so far away. Yet it's not only the outside of the tram that the company has insisted have an air of luxury. Many of the tramcar's features are modelled on the opulence of Europe's famous Orient Express. Its Pullman-style coach seating has been specifically designed to seat the tram's guests with both comfort and support. For after all, this restaurant will travel on Melbourne's normal tramway network, the largest such network in the world. So it has to be practical as well as the best, and the Colonial Tramcar Company has seen to that. The second Tuesday in November is a special occasion in Melbourne, when the whole country stops for the running of the famous Melbourne Cup. What better day to take Australia's latest tourist attraction on its first public outing? Not only did it excite many of the 150,000 people on their way to the Flemington racecourse, but it attracted more than its fair share of media coverage in the evening's television news services. Although it was only a trial run, it showed its true potential for group outings to events like race meetings, company and society barbecues, even weddings. How? Well, while others sat in the traffic or looked for a park within walking distance of the racecourse, the Colonial Tramcar dropped its guests right at the front entrance. No one really escaped the traffic that day, but none of the guests on board seemed to care. After all, getting there and getting home was left to someone else. So enjoying the outing is left to you. In early 1983, the Colonial Tramcar will be out on the road, giving both Melburnians and our visitors an experience of a lifetime. Join us on board the world's first travelling Tramcar Restaurant.
Clang, clang, clang went the trolley. Ding, ding, ding went the bell. Zing, zing, zing went my heartstrings. From the moment I saw him, I fell.
You can hardly blame the poor passers-by for looking confused. After all, when you stand at a tram stop in Melbourne, you don't expect to taste the Edwardian restaurant to roll by, do you? The Colonial Tramcar Company's rolling restaurant makes only one pickup 5 times a day outside Melbourne's Arts Centre. For the next hour and a half to 3 hours, depending on when you travel, passengers are treated to a sumptuous meal in a gently swaying cocoon that can only be described as unique. The idea came to the company's founders when a couple of years ago they got a little merry and wisely decided to go by tram rather than drive. They were a bit miffed that the conductor wouldn't serve them avocados vinaigrette. All they could get was a crumpled ticket. So they dried themselves out, thought about it for a while, then approached the then Liberal government and Tramways authorities with the idea of a restaurant on one of their ageing tramcars. And they were more surprised than relieved when all concerned said they loved the idea. From there, it was just a matter of leasing a tram and fitting it out at well over $1 million.
This tram's actually been gutted right down from the bare floorboards and built up again. But of course we have all sorts of modern conveniences now, such as air conditioning, double glazed windows, as you can see here. It's fully carpeted throughout.
And special suspension to make the ride softer?
Yeah, so the suspension is actually harder, it's not softer, but it cuts out the sway.
Right.
Right.
So there's no fear of landing up with the hors d'oeuvres in your lap?
Oh, well, of course, if someone came out of a side street or someone did something silly on the roads, obviously in an emergency situation, of course that would happen, but that's the exception, it's not the rule.
What about the drivers? Do they have to be specially trained for the job?
No, they're just the normal rostered crews from the Melbourne Transit Authority, yes.
Do they enjoy themselves?
Oh, they have an absolute ball, yes.
Before you dash off to book, a few details are in order. The Colonial tramcar has varying meals from brunch in the morning right through to a full dinner at night, and trip times and prices vary accordingly. It's not cheap. Afternoon tea is $24.50 and the 3-hour dinner is $55. But you have to admit, it's an experience no other restaurant in the world can offer.
I think it's very, very good for the overseas visitor that comes to Melbourne, and also the interstate visitor, because they can see Melbourne at the same time as have dinner, especially for a lot of businessmen. People coming out on short trips. They can see Melbourne at the same time and have a beautiful meal.
You're going to go to San Francisco and set some up there?
We're thinking about it, yes.
And it was grand just to stand with his hand holding mine.